Hi everyone, Matt Bernier, Dan Illman, taking a look back at the Grade 3 Bold Ruler from Belmont Park on closing Saturday. What ended up being closing Saturday, unfortunately, because weather washed out closing Sunday at Belmont. But the Bold Ruler looked on paper like it was going to be a really fun race. You go a number of ways, and ultimately we had a pretty exciting stretch run. As they break from the gate, you're going to notice this pace. Boy, I thought it was going to be honest. I didn't think it was going to be supersonic like it was.
This was supersonic. This is the old Green Grotto. They figure, listen, the only chance to win is to go right out on the old chooch. Awesome Banner is keeping him honest down towards the inside. Mr. Crow is up close. And this half mile, this sub 45 half mile, coupled with the way the main track was playing. I know they only ran 4 main track races at Belmont on Saturday. Speed didn't seem to be holding very well. All of this conspires to set things up for the closers.
22 seconds flat. You're going to see a half mile in 44 and 3 for Green Grotto. Again, we know Green Grotto. Back in the old days, Green Grotto had unbelievable speed. He harkened it back here. You're going to notice a couple of horses right now. The number 9 is Seymour Dini. He's basically going backwards at this point. Looks like he's going to be eased. Stallwalking Dude is starting to warm up, as well as Tom's Ready from the back of the pack. Look at Stallwalking Dude, though. Right now, it looks like he's going to just absolutely inhale this field.
This is the Stallwalking Dude we're used to seeing, gearing up on the outside at Belmont and keeping going, while Divining Rod in the 2-path was stuck in behind horses and shuffled back a bit. From here, you would have to say, the old Stallwalking Dude would put this away. Yes, he made an early move, arguably into the teeth of the pace, but I wonder if drifting down towards the inside didn't help matters. And here comes Tom's Ready. And if you give Tom's Ready a pace, especially over this track, he will come running.
Tom's Ready's going to run him down. Keep an eye on the pink hat all the way down the bottom. That's Seymour Dini. He went from basically being eased to coming home in 11 and 3. We'll talk about him more momentarily, but again, not to give short shrift to the actual winner of the race, Tom's Ready. A beautiful ride from Joel Rosario. You know his game. Take him back, make one run. When you get a big pace, he can do this. Pay $18 on top. Stallwalking Dude, one of the coolest horses in training. $5.30 to place. Beasley, a big effort from Mark Henning's runner in here. $9 to show. $1 exact to $52. 50-cent try, $236.50. The 10-cent super, 6789. $233.45. Tom's Ready is now a millionaire. He is over $1 million in earnings for Dallas Stewart, GMB Racing, Rosario with the ride, 5 for 20 lifetime. You look at his overall in the money record, 12 times. He's a cool horse. This is what he does, though. He's a one-run closing sprinter. When you give him just an unbelievable pace, he can win a race like this.
I think he's a one-turn closing sprinter miler, and this race, of course, being the important local prep for the Cigar Mile. You'd have to think that that's next for Tom's Ready, and if you give him a pace, he always has a puncher's chance. Stallwalking Dude, I wondered, I think you and I disagreed a little bit with the Vosburg because it was such better competition when you had Takaffel and El Deal battling it out on the lead, and I thought Stallwalking Dude with the trip he got, just sitting in third, the way he loomed at the 3/16 pole, I thought the old Stallwalking Dude would have gone by. I think the old Stallwalking Dude would have held on to win this race. Hey, it's not bad for losing a step if you're still competing at a very high level. I just wonder if the mile really is what he wants if they're going to go that route to the Cigar Mile. I like him better at 6. We saw him flatten here at 7.
And I think that's the thing. For me, it wasn't necessarily, this may have been that 7/8 where he's won at 7/8 in the past. He had won the Bold Ruler last year, but I wonder if it was a scenario where, like you say, at 7 years old now, maybe 7 furlongs isn't ideal for him. I have a question for you overall about the figure of this race, because Tom's Ready wins with a 106 buyer. You see some of the other numbers in here. Stallwalking Dude with a 105. We know he's capable of running that. Beasley with a 105. It was second start off the layoff. He's lightly raced. Who knows? But there's a part of me that says you go through and look at this. Tom's Ready, the best race of his career, speed figure-wise, by far, by 6 or 7 points. Essentially, this is making it seem as though Taylor Saval ran his race. He ran second to last in here. To me, I wonder if this figure's a little bit inflated.
I think it's fair to wonder that. I wonder if they're basing it off of Seymour Dini's numbers recently, and there were some giant speed figures in there. Divining Rod certainly capable of running a big race. Even Mr. Crow, who I think's been exposed now after 2 losses in a row. Prior to that, had run triple-digit buyer speed figures. You knew you were going to get a fast final time the way this pace set up. So I think that Andy and company probably are looking at it as it was a fast final time. There were some fast horses in this race, and the outlier among the top 4 or 5, Beasley, you made the case. Lightly raced 3-year-old, a lot of upside, and also always showed a lot of potential early in his career.
The real sort of conundrum of this race is Seymour Dini, because Seymour Dini had been a horse that up to this point, and look, he didn't win this race, but all of his wins had come in gate-to-wire fashion. It looked like Jose Ortiz was going to pull him up on the far turn, and then all of a sudden, it was as if the light bulb went back on. And again, I can't overstate it. I know it seems a little bit silly. We don't talk about come-home times in dirt races. He got his final length of a mile in 11:03, when everybody else, even Tom's Ready coming from the back of the pack, came home in almost 12:02. He came home almost a full second or 4/5 of a second faster. What do you do with this?
It's very odd to see a race chart use odd journey as part of its long comment. What do I do with this race? I think you have to just sort of break it down in separate parts. Remember, we hadn't seen this horse since July the 3rd. This horse has had his share of physical problems, and you mentioned most of his big races, if not all of them, have come when he was outright on the lead. And I think the fear in this race was that he was going to be out-sprinted early by some serious speed at a distance that's a little bit shorter than his best. He just looked confused and was spinning his wheels on the turn, and it looked like Jose Ortiz was going to ease him, turning into the stretch. And then the next thing you know, he just takes a hold of the bit and starts running down towards the inside. If you look at the last eighth of a mile and forget about everything else, you're saying, what a great prep for the Cigar Mile. He's running at the end of his first start off the layoff. He'll get a one-turn mile, which is what he wants next time out. But boy, I look at this race and you're running in spots, and you're probably going to get bet in the Cigar Mile based on those big numbers that you've had in the past. Boy, let value be your guide there. I'm not sure what you're going to get from Seymour Dini. You know, I'm his biggest fan. It's just that, will we even see him in the Cigar knowing his injury history?
Divining rod, what do you do with him coming out of this race? Because he had been in such good form. Arnaud Delacour had gotten him put together. He'd stringed together a couple of good races, considering he's always been another ouchie one. And then he comes here with this. Is it as simple as he was a little bit too close to the hot pace?
I'd like to say that officially he carried 118 pounds, but he carried the whole grandstand. It seemed that every public handicapper picked him, except for you, me, and Mike Beer and Mike Watchmaker. And it seemed everybody was on this horse. Craig Milkowski at Time Form US. And I understand why Daniel Centeno wanted to try to save some ground breaking from an outside post. I think he sort of got this horse in a situation where he got sour in between, and I'm not sure if being down closer to the rail was really where you wanted. That being said, now, have we really seen improvement from Divining Rod this year? He's run some good races, to be sure. I really liked his prior start against Sharp Azteca. I think if you're trying to take somebody out of this race, and we haven't gotten to Beasley yet, I think he deserves one more chance, especially with a good post position and a fair pace in the Cigar.
Beasley, as far as distance is concerned, do you think he wants a little bit more ground? He ran just fine here. He came home in 12:02, and considering it was a second start off of a long layoff, this had to be a very, very heartening and promising effort for the Connections.
I think the one-turn mile is going to hit him right between the eyes if that's where Mark Henning decides to go in the Cigar Mile. They tried to stretch him out around 2 turns in some of those Triple Crown preps early in the season, and it just was a little bit too much too soon. Maybe the distance was too much, and now it just seems like we've had a natural progression for him coming back. He was fairly close to this solid pace. I like the way he was fighting on in the stretch, and I think there's a forward move on the Beyer scale. And listen, he's just coming off a big, very fast race. He's certainly one to consider in the Cigar, and he should be a decent number.
Tom's Ready is now a millionaire for Dallas Stewart and company. A big effort here in the Bold Ruler. He earns a 106 Beyer, and you would assume if all things are good, it's on to the Cigar Mile.